Hello, and welcome to Delight and Fright. We have some of our lovely, lovely guests in today. I'm Luna, and this is Kat. Thank you. We have three wonderful guests on today. We have Anthony DiBlasi, which is a horror director. We have Sam Brooks, who is an actor. And we have Christopher in the house, who is also a lovely actor.
Lovely actors. Why are they lovely and I don't get lovely? Can I say that opening was really freaked me out a bit? It's like Tales from the Dark Side.
Thank you. I worked on that myself. I've been kind of messing around with video editing software, marketing software. So,
don't give away your secrets. You paid big money for that.
I kind of expected the woman from The Ring to pop out at the end there.
Right?
After it's over, Sam, then she meets you.
Oh, yeah. It's like that maze game.
She has drinks with you later.
Yeah.
Ooh. Okay. I might be interested.
So we're here to discuss a wonderful movie we were blessed to see at Texas Frightmare. It was honestly me and Kat's favorite, and we were so inspired by it. It was just amazing. And if I may, I will show the official trailer, which we did get consent to show it today. So I will do that now. And that way you guys can see the trailer and see its awesomeness before we get into the nitty-gritty fun. Okay. Here it goes.
I can see the fear in your eyes. You saw something you can't explain.
Wait, Ricky. Call's been rerouted to the new station, so it should be quiet. There's emergency and station's numbers on the desk.
Shall be fine.
Hello?
Told us that Captain Lauren's daughter would be joining the department.
Yes, sir. Just want to work where my father worked, even if it's for one night.
He was a hero. Until he wasn't.
Sam Brooks!
Don't know what happened, but your father was no saint.
Your daddy started something very important. Tonight we're gonna finish it.
The temple bearer will bring forth the low god, and I will be redeemer. Infinite Malum.
I can't do this anymore. Just get me out.
We pray in the temple of the low god.
Yes.
As you can imagine,
badass.
She is not fine at the end of the night.
That's a rough shift. I mean, I've had pretty rough shifts.
That's the sequel. Hey, no! Anthony, did you tell her that was the name of the sequel?
The rough shift.
I love how in the trailer I realized that you take the last shift and prepare. Your previous film. That's because it's definitely you take this movie and just prepare for as I call balls to the wall horror.
Yes.
Once it gets started, it's just nonstop.
Clever marketing there. Take the lens.
Yes. So, Kat, you want to start the questions off?
Yes, yes. This one's for Anthony. First off, why the title Malum?
Well, we wanted to differentiate it from the previous film because we knew it was a reimagining. It was different enough. And we wanted to focus on the cult more and what they could become, not just this one night with this one police station, which The Last Shift really was about. So we wanted it just to be about something bigger, something more foreboding than, and also to tell people this is a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So I was just curious because regarding the name. So the name, I looked it up in Latin. I studied Latin a little bit. It means evil or bad. Did you study Latin, or did you have to do some sort of research to come up with it?
I mean, I actually did. I took 3 years of Latin in high school, but that I wouldn't say that's why we called it Malum. It was just, we were just looking for the right name to we wanted to change the name because in Last Shift, the villain's name was Payment. And then a few years later, Hereditary came out and they also used Payment. So, and that got a much wider release than Last Shift did. So we really wanted to go on this, changing the name. We didn't want any comparisons to Hereditary or
Who
Last
would
Shift.
want that? I'm sorry, I hated that movie. I hated it.
Well, it did pretty well. So
yeah, it got a lot of money. It did that.
So
hate is such a strong word.
She hated it. She hated it. But that was one of the name changes. And also we thought it was apropos because one of the meanings is wrong or evil against the law specifically. So we thought that was fit very well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I was curious, Anthony, how did you get the actor choice, and what was some of the deciding factors that helped you pick a cast?
Well, listen, you go after as many great actors as you can, and then you end up with CMS and Sam Brooks.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh.
That's awesome.
No, I think casting,
and Jessica.
I think casting's a huge deal when you're. There are a lot of factors that go into casting. You're spending your money on certain cast members coming out of Los Angeles, and then you're trying to hire people that are close. We shot in Kentucky, so you're looking at actor pools that are in the zones around Kentucky. And our casting director was out of New York, and he was holding casting sessions, and he brought us Sam and CMS. And it's a matter of me going through as many tapes as I can and finding great actors through that process, and then having callbacks. And we did most callbacks because I was in Los Angeles. They were at their respective homes. So we did all through Zoom for a lot of the locals casting. And I really only have, once I have a callback session, I already like them as actors. And I really only do one thing in a session it's to see if an actor can take a note. Because my favorite part of directing is working with actors. So, and both of these guys, Sam and CMS, if you give them, usually it's something that's completely irrelevant to the plot of the film. Like if they're playing it one way, I'll give them a note to play it the opposite way. In the script, Officer Price, Sam Brooks's character, very affable, very likable. He was much more akin to the first movie. And, I had given Sam a note, play it as if you're one of Malum's followers, essentially, and you're here to harass Jessica. And he just took that note and thread it through the entire performance. And in CMS the same thing. You give them a note, can they take a note? And then that on set, I like to improv and I like to let the actors play and work off each other, and also do things in the background that may, I may give Sam a note, CMS doesn't know, he'll still say something, and then CMS will just be in the moment. So it's really about actors that love to play and can take a note once we get to that process.
And you can really see how they feed off of each other.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
you guys do a lot of hanging out.
They had such good chemistry. Yeah.
Yeah,
those two had such good chemistry.
Look under CMS's left arm. There's a chunk missing. They fed on him a little bit.
Actually, and also I wanted to mention I was doing my own research on the word Malum, and excuse me while I whip this out. Found a book that my grandmother gave me on demonology. Grandma, yes,
excellent, Grandma.
The ultimate horror fan, my grandma, and then my mom, and then me, and it just carries on. But if you look at the word Malum, it leads you to a different to malfecia, which is misfortunes, injuries, and calamities suffered by persons, animals, or property for which no immediate explanation could be found. So that really, I was like, wow, it went back to that, what she kept reciting when she was, so I was like, wait a minute here. I've uncovered something.
It was all intentional, I swear.
That's awesome. That's a good find. Now I want to know what things did not make it to the script, but you thought of, Anthony, but maybe we were like, we're not going to put that in the script. Or maybe, you got some creative feedback that it shouldn't be on the script.
I like telling this story, the CMS and Sam's favorite stories. Because they can talk about it, because it was when Scott and I were writing the script, because when Scott and I write, we're like 6-year-old children, and we just like say ridiculous. We just like try to push each other's buttons when it comes to doing stuff. And in the movie, they joke about, like, Officer Price jokes about them being a couple or them dating, which they're not at all. I mean, they're just like locker room talk. Well, because it relates to you guys.
It's so believable, though. They make such a cute couple.
True.
It was a legit thing that Scott.
I'm old enough to be his father.
So everybody can use a daddy.
Zaddy, more like it.
Whoa, okay.
Scott and I, when they become their kind of demonic forms, they're like, what if, and we ran this by the Welcome Villain team, they're like, what if we do kind of like a Shining homage, and they're like banging in one of the closets or something, like it's like a disturbing scene where he's like raping CMS, and it didn't end up going into the movie. We never went there with it. It didn't go into the script.
It's just too painful.
It's too painful. It's too painful.
That's what you put in because you know they're gonna want it taken out. So you're like, it's not so bad now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't want to be relegated. We didn't want to be relegated to the back room with curtains at the old video store.
That makes sense.
It's like that great moment in The Shining with the guy in the bear suit.
Yeah.
And the guy on the bed that's just like creepy as all hell.
And if you blink for a second, you'll miss it because it's so.
You'll miss it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a time. Yeah, I remember him pitching us that idea. It was like, really? I think let me think on it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that actually brings me to another question, Anthony. How did you get Chris to do his nude scene?
Oh man, Chris, take it away.
Whoa!
Well, it was in the script.
It's in the script, dude. You gotta do it.
Wrote it in the script.
It was in the script, so he knew. He read the pages, and it's just like
you knew what was expected.
CMS didn't give a shit.
He didn't give a shit.
So
I love
much.
it.
Yeah, can I take that one away?
Take it.
So I don't have any. Honestly, I told Anthony I don't really have any interest in running around in movies naked. However, because I'm pretty much always naked at home, I said, I'll do it. If it'll make you happy, I'll do it. I'm not afraid to be naked. I was in the Navy. We all had to shower in this big, huge room. I think now they're very pampered in the Navy. They have their own private rooms now or something where they get shower. I have no idea. I heard that they have private rooms and showers. So I said, fine. I'm not embarrassed to be naked. No problem. But it was shocking. It was more shocking than all the people dying, wasn't it?
It was a full moon.
I enjoyed, I enjoyed the booty. We don't have enough booty in films. We women, we like the booty, and I'm a chunky girl myself, so nothing ashamed, nothing to be ashamed about. I love that you're just like, yeah, here's my booty.
What was funny when we shot that, because we're like the camera is in the back of the locker room and he comes in through the front and then he walks straight back to his locker room and the camera. So that scene, it gets serious at one point, and it kind of the tone changes. But on the first couple takes, he was still naked, and because he was like doing it. He's getting dressed and he's doing his thing, and he had a whole process. And the first couple takes, it's like everyone gets serious, and he's still buck naked in the background. It's like the camera's still on him. So we had to adjust that process to kind of like, okay, you gotta have at least your pants on by the time we get to this part.
Yeah, sure. Was that the first scene you filmed, Chris?
What do you think?
Or did you do it out of order?
No,
wasn't it?
That was the first thing we shot.
That was the first one. Yeah.
Oh wow.
It was. Yeah,
welcome to set, buddy.
That's right.
I love it.
Get naked.
I love it.
Yes,
I definitely believe horror needs more booty, boobs and booty, come on. Help us gals out, right?
Help us get it out there. Wardrobe kept saying, would you like a modesty garment? And I said, I don't know if you have one in my size. I said, just forget it. It takes too long to put it on.
Yeah.
I think the best part is he comes out of the shower with a basketball.
Yeah, I know. I imagine he was, he kind of uses it as a stool while he's cleaning himself.
It's his Wilson.
It's his ball.
Yeah.
He brings that ball.
For sure, I have a big ball.
Yeah, he's got one big ball.
Yeah.
One big ball.
just one. Full swollen.
One mutant ball. Elephantitis, maybe?
Oh, no.
So we had to talk. I was trying to talk the Foley artists into making them slap more. Like, as I was walking through the
big wall balls.
I was asking. I said, Brian's the Foley mixer. I said, Brian, I want more slapping sounds. More cheek.
No, but I have a serious question for Sam.
Shoot.
Tell me why there is no nude scene with you. You saw Chris and you were like, I can't compete with this. I'm done.
Honestly, that was the first and foremost thought. But I had my nude scene debut in Fear Street Part 2, 1978.
That's true.
That was my full nude scene, and so I was like, that might be a one and done. And it was almost another one if we were to be fucking in a closet.
In that same movie?
No, in Anthony's.
Yes, there was that one. Yeah.
Every movie, that's a requirement.
If we don't see Sam's ass in every movie, we're not paying.
With Sam, you don't need a wide angle lens though. They can save on glass. extra wide angle lens not required.
A kind of behind the scenes question, because like on the day, and I don't remember, were there stages? Because usually I don't plan too far ahead when you have extras in the background, and the costume designer's like, okay, what do you want people wearing in this scene? Like, what stages of undress? And what was there ever a moment, Sam, like, or the costume where Miranda was like, hey, do you want your shirt off? Are you going to start with your shirt off and then put layers on? I can't remember if we ever talked about it.
No, they just gave me my wardrobe, which was the pants and that shirt, and they're like, all right, just start with it, like you buttoning up or putting that cop shirt on.
And that probably comes from me down, and I'm like, just have them, because it's like timing wise, it was like,
yeah, if I were to put on a shirt, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would have been comfortable doing the shirtless, but the timing would have been weird because it was the initial talk and then putting on a shirt and then having to button that shirt would have gotten in the way.
Yeah. Malcolm says that's why the seat wasn't long enough. If the seat was a little longer, he could at least had his shirt off. Stupid buttons. Should have been a Velcro shirt.
I could have ripped it
off. With a little boom box.
So, excuse me. In the sequel, there's talks of like, because Sam has the Baywatch body. There's talks of having the man boob watch body sequel. So we're gonna do the other side, but from the waist up. So the problem with being a big guy and dating, is that women get mad. They say, I don't want to date a guy who has bigger boobs than I do. That's a big problem.
So you need to just find girls with bigger boobs. We're out here.
That's true.
Exactly.
Well said.
That could be difficult.
No, there's a lot of plastic going around. So, Anthony, I noticed something particular. Malum was almost 10 years after Last Shift. What exactly prompted a revisit or retelling of Last Shift?
It was the Welcome Villain guys. I had met Luc LeBeau through a friend, and he was like, listen, I'm a really big fan of that first movie. And he was like, I'm starting this company with my colleagues called Welcome Villain. What do you guys think about kind of helping us launch the company with Last Shift as our first movie? And I was down with it. I mean, we did that first film for a tiny, tiny budget. There were lots of things we couldn't do, and we planned that while we were writing it and for the location. So it's not like there was all this stuff we had to cut out, but we catered it to that tiny budget. So with this movie having a bigger budget, it allowed us to do bigger things, more effects, more character development, more mythology with the cult, things like that. So that was exciting, to be able to, because we felt we didn't really get to explore the flock in the first film too much, and we really wanted to make that a bigger part of this movie and get into those kind of big effects things that we couldn't do in the first one. That was the main reason.
Blink twice if you're being held against your will, if you're in a cult.
Damn.
Does it haunt you?
I can't blink or I'll be killed.
Call the police. Send them to Burbank.
On it, boss.
Love it. So what is some of you guys' like horror faves? Like what got you excited about horror and you knew like this is what I want to do with my life? And we'll start with Anthony and then we'll go to Chris.
When I was a kid, I watched a lot of movies with the effects. That's what really drew me to horror was, Freddy Krueger and movies like The Lost Boys and Fright Night, which are movies I watch all the time. Still, The Thing, The Blob, kind of those 80s heavy effects movies. And I liked doing effects myself and doing makeup when I was younger. And that's what was really interesting. It was like kind of the monster making aspect of it. American Werewolf in London, just those kinds of films really drew me to it. And I just like scaring people as well. Just if I can set up a scare to freak my friends out, that's enjoyable. I like doing that. So this made a lot of sense to get into horror.
Nice. Love it. What about you, Chris?
Well, first of all, Anthony is a gifted director, and he's an incredibly generous director. And when he works with us, he really brings us in. And so I never thought I would be that keen on doing horror films. I consider myself an actor, so I always imagined that my career would be filled with these strong character types. I love being typecast, and I don't mind being typecast at all. It's exciting to me to be the kind of extreme characters. And so I always imagined I'd be doing these plethora of different genres of films. But for some reason, horror has this way of like dragging you in. And so I never had that thought. I never thought for a minute I was going to be a horror actor until I worked with Anthony. Now, I can say I worked with a lot of directors. I just worked on another film, and it was not a super experience. Won't mention anything about that, but it was not a great experience. And each time I'm working with new directors, it solidifies my belief that Anthony's very efficient. There's no endless takes, but he also understands the horror genre, and he understands how to get the scares out of people. My favorite horror film, and I told Anthony this, I believe, I don't like favorites, but if I had a favorite, Alien's my favorite horror film, and Aliens is my favorite action film, probably. If I had to think about it, I love those two movies.
She's got the tattoo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Excellent.
Xenomorph. And so, my thoughts are, I think I'd be willing or interested in going down the horror road with Anthony. There's sort of having a sidebar right now with Anthony about, and Sam's going to be looped into this very soon because have your ears been burning? We've been talking about you. So we would really like to
fire
do
the other day. It's so crazy.
Yeah. we would really like to do a buddy film. Of course, a sequel to Malum would be wonderful, hint, hint, Anthony. But Anthony and I are talking about, possibly Sam and I doing a buddy film that if everyone is aligned and all the stars are aligned, that Sam and I can do a buddy film together. Anthony can direct that film. If everybody is excited about that idea, it'll move forward. And I think that it's hard to find a better director than Anthony. I don't consider Anthony a horror director. I consider Anthony a superb director. And I think that as time marches on, we're going to see a lot more. If you look at his body of work, the total of his 10 films, he's directed some pretty interesting moments, and they're not just horror moments. So what I'm saying is let's look for lots of stuff from Anthony DiBlasi down the road. And I would like, I want to be in all your films.
I pay CMS for this kind of book, This is how it works.
Well, a lot of directors got their start in horror. I mean, so many directors, and people think of horror as just one semi-dimensional, and it's finally getting the respect it deserves. It's not. It's comedy. It's action. It's suspense. It's all of the above. And if you're making a good horror movie, you have to have all of those elements. And you do an amazing job at that, Anthony.
Well, thank you. And I think, when you look at the directors, you look at horror films in the 70s, we're kind of in that. I feel like we're in that bubble again where people, big directors are doing horror that would hit a mainstream audience. And that's how it was back then. So I think it's more, again, you go through those lulls of is horror one step above porn, or is it Oscar worthy? It's one or the other, Sam, what
about you, Sam? What is your favorite spooky?
I never the reason I watched horror back in the day when I was a kid is because my friends and I would watch it just for the camaraderie of us being scared together, and seeing who could last the longest as far as make it till the end of the film. And I was usually tapping out halfway. I remember seeing The Ring. I couldn't make it through. That was
I'm out.
Yeah, that one. I had nightmares for a week straight. The same dream from that movie alone. And but I did there was like a nice thrill to it. I remember seeing The Strangers in theaters with my buddies, and I went home and I was the only one there, and they left, and I told them, I was like, dudes, no one's home right now. It's kind of freaky. And then they came back and they wanted to mess with me, like by knocking on the door and shit. And I was, but you know, so there's good memories there in a horror film. And I never thought I would be into the horror space as far as like acting career goes, but I got thrown into it with Fear Street, and then I did 3 films last year, all of which are in the horror psychological thriller category. So it's been a really fun ride, and I would say I enjoy making them so much more than I do watching them. But when I was watching Malum for the first time at our premiere, I was smiling through the whole movie because I just had such good memories of making this film and seeing it come together and be what it was, and it's just like an amazing film. I probably look like a psychopath because I'm just like smiling and like loving every second of this. Like, oh, this is great.
Like this.
Yeah, he's like.
So it's been an amazing ride. It's been so fun, and I agree. I think that the fact that the horror genre does have to encapsulate like all of it, where it's like suspense, thriller, there's action, there's blood, there's gore, there's moments of sincerity, and there's rom-commy moments as well, and there's everything inside of this one film, and maybe that's the reason why people get starts there, because they kind of have this one film and they show all these different aspects in that one thing, where a director can take all these different genres and put them into a horror film, or an actor can show their different levels of range within one film. Who knows?
And if they're willing to rough it out and the nitty gritty, here, more blood.
Yeah, that's the fun part.
Like if they can deal with that, they can handle more shit.
Yeah, I remember having that prosthetic face thing on. It's like this whole. It took like an hour and a half to put it on, and I could only see out of one tiny hole. And I'd have to have someone like guide me around this abandoned police station, and I would have like a straw, like someone stuck a straw through one of the holes so I could like have water.
Oh
and
you're like, this is how I die.
Yeah, it's like it's 90 degrees in that place, and I'm just like looking around. I'm like, guys, anybody there?
There are definitely times I'd walk by and I was like, is he alive? Because he's just like sitting in a chair, he's not moving. After a few hours, you're like, did he suffocate? Is he okay?
I was like, I'm trying to control my heart rate.
Exactly.
Just get a stick and poke him.
Yeah,
he's good.
Starting to smell.
It was difficult for me because after I threw up, everybody was looking at me in an odd way. And I said, look, I can't help it. I really thought someone blew away his face. I was like, was there an accident on set or something? Because it literally looked like Sam's face had been blown off. There was this huge crater in there. And so after I hurled the first time, it was really nice. The PA said, hey, let's go back to the lunch line. I'm like, no, it's okay. Yeah, but you got to have some calories. We're going to be doing some more takes. You got to do some more. And I'm like, no, we got to go help Sam and take him to the hospital. Sam's prosthetic face was very realistic. And one of the things I noticed about Anthony's vision about this film was that it was practical effects, right? We had lots and lots of practical stuff. It was, he did not lean heavily on digital, but like from an actor's point of view, what I noticed about his directorial style, and I didn't really catch this until we had a chance to speak, some more about it, is that he doesn't really front load you too much. And you're new to the director, so you come to the director, it's like your first time working with him, and your adrenaline's pumping already, and kind of like you feel like really anxious to begin with, and then he's like, okay, let me see what you got, action. I'm like, whoa, it really sparks. I wasn't ready yet. So he doesn't want the actors to be bogged down with too many meetings, briefings, too many. You have some directors that are like, okay, well, I want you to think about, and let's talk, and I want this angle, and let's do it. Stand over here, and here's your blocking, here's your tape, and no, Anthony's like, okay, guys, action. I'm like, okay. And so, all right. So a lot of that energy you saw between Sam and me, a lot of that high energy was just I can't speak for Sam. The adrenaline was like pumping.
There was a moment when it was me and Jessica and CMS, and we were doing the scene where we got called up, and I'm talking to her, and it's the one in the trailer where it's like he was a hero until he wasn't, and we're doing rehearsals, and we're just going through the blocking, but Anthony wanted lines involved and stuff, so I said the lines 70% on script, and then there's a moment where Anthony was like, "Yeah, you don't even know the lines yet." So, and I was like, "What do you do?" I was like, "Well, I know the lines." It's like, "Great, we run in 5." and I was like, it just made me second guess everything. So I'm in there with my little like dailies, and I'm just like going through. I'm like, "CMS, run these lines." He's like, "You got them, dude." I was like,
"Write it on your hand."
And I was like, "I'm not
going in there. You're going in there."
Oh man,
fuck you! I'm ready to go.
That was so funny. I was like, I'll show
Well, that's what happens if you do it too many times. It doesn't seem realistic. It's overdone, So it's best to just in the moment. I love that.
Like, I thought we were just doing blocking.
I mean, I'll like, and sometimes like I know my first AC on this movie, she was arguing with me the whole time, but I like to shoot rehearsals because why not shoot rehearsals? A lot of times you get interesting stuff in rehearsals and then you don't ever get it again. And I hate that. So I rather just shoot a rehearsal, even if it doesn't look right, even if only 20% of it's usable, that's still 20%.
It's something. It's definitely, I mean, you don't got to pay for the film anymore.
Do you find that some rehearsal takes that you have used, you might have gotten like a interesting camera movement or like, you know what I mean? Especially if the camera's still working their movements out with the actors, do you find like there could be something really interesting in the way that happened? That like what you were saying, that wasn't predestined?
Yeah, because everyone's figuring it out on that first take. Oh, the actors are, the camera is, the focus puller is, especially the focus puller. So you may get some interesting focus adjustments during that I like to use, or the camera does something that you don't expect, especially the actors will do things that you
never know where. Good blackmail.
Yeah, or good blackmail, exactly.
Fund your next film.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I got it on camera.
Yeah, that Mike, the guy who runs the sound, is like, I got everything.
He's got it. People always forget that they're wearing mics.
Yeah.
Of course.
Actors walk away and they still got their mics on.
I always like to turn my pack off. And I'm like, yeah, I'm saving you battery. Turn it off.
I mean, you should. It's but because while I'm editing the movie, you get all the tracks. And what's interesting is like, I'll be in a scene. Let's say I'm in a scene with CMS and Sam, and then Jess walks away, and then she's in the other room talking to like the costume girl. And I have all that on the same track line, right? So I can isolate. She's talking, they're doing their scene. Brit's George is talking to the stunt guy. They're all having conversations and they're all being recorded while they're doing it. It's like, watch out. Or watch out what you're saying.
Yes, honey. Yes, darling. Hey, darling, I just want to go to Churchill Downs and drop a couple dollars.
Is that supposed to be Jessica?
I think she's English.
Doing my best.
You made her sound like Miss Doubtfire.
Exactly like Miss Doubtfire.
Very British.
Mrs. Doubtfire. Okay, I have to go a little octave higher.
That was spot on.
Oh my goodness. So we should talk about Churchill Downs.
No, wait, those are secrets. They don't want to care. They don't want to know about that.
Oh, we want to know now.
We went to the horse track.
It was rough. Yeah.
Well, we were in Kentucky, so we went
invited.
to. Oh, were you?
You were invited.
Were you there?
You were gone.
No.
You went home, I think.
He left by that point.
He couldn't hang.
We went to the horse track, Churchill Downs, where they have the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I should have left my card home. That was the mistake I made.
We did a lot of drinking that day, unfortunately.
Yeah, I got the bill at the end of the month. My Amex came in, and my business manager said, "Are you sure this is right? Looks like someone stole your card." I'm like, "Oh my!"
He was just buying everybody
my
drinks.
alter ego stole it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
my alter ego stole it.
Apparently, no. Cutter said that. No, I wasn't. But Cutter said that I was in line for drinks every 10 minutes.
Every 10
minutes. I kept buying everybody drinks. I didn't realize.
Every time I walked by, you were in the drink line.
I was. That's true.
You guys
don't go to Vegas, dude. Don't go to Vegas.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't gamble on any horses, so it was like I got the bill. Somewhere in my wallet was a receipt, and it said mint julep, 25, 30 mint, like 30 mint juleps. It was insane. Apparently, they were on sale.
That was the only drink, the mint julep.
Well,
you were gambling on your liver, man.
Yeah, I know. It was a whiskey mint julep.
They were on sale, so I figured they were probably my alter ego was like, oh, a bargain.
They were
what a deal! I'll buy one for everyone.
What a savings!
God, I wish I mean, that sounds so fun, you guys.
It was fun.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You should have been there.
We had good times. Sam and I went and had barbecue. We had authentic barbecue, and then we went whiskey tasting.
Yeah, that was fun. I actually took CMS to his first crystal ever. He's never been to a crystal. Or was it a White Castle?
It was White Castle.
White Castle. It was White Castle. Yeah.
I have never had a White Castle in a White Castle. I've had
that was a fun day.
Those soggy. It was so fun.
Yes, the frozen ones. Yeah.
Oh, they're horrible. And when I went to real White Castle, Sam's like, "Yeah, this is not like those frozen things." He's like, "Oh, okay." They're actually less expensive than the frozen ones. And so, what did I get? A box of 20 or something? Was it 30? I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
No, you got three different. You only got three.
We got a box.
That's not even a full burger.
We did get a box. That was the first time I had White Castle too. After like a late night, Cutter was our first AD. He kept saying, "When are we going to stop at White Castle?" And we did. We stopped at White Castle, and he got one of those giant boxes.
It's kind of like a rite of passage. You got to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, they're delicious. I think it's like it has a soft, spongy little nugget.
Well, it's the steam. They do it like the steam cooked.
And the grilled onions.
Those little chopped grilled onions.
Little mustard, little pickle.
Luna's like, "I'm not getting involved with this White Castle."
She's like, "I was more of a crystal fan."
Well, actually, I'm vegetarian, so my only options are French fries.
There you go.
Well, she was all about the In-N-Out burger. She was like joking at the
grilled cheese.
Yeah,
grilled
that's what I
cheese.
did. I can have grilled cheese and animal fries. That's about it.
They're both of those are very good. I've had grilled cheese there. They're very good.
Yeah, they're good. So
I don't know if
now
I've had
going
them.
back. Going back to the whole animal rights thing, I saw your movie was certified for the humane, like no animals were harmed in this. How is it working with that industry, or what kind of regulations did you have to meet to be in compliance with since you guys had an actual animal in the movie? For those of you that don't know, there is a very lovely pig.
Very large pig in the movie. Yahtzee was the pig's real name.
Aww.
Yahtzee?
Yeah,
I love it. Love it.
I was a little nervous when I first saw the first bit of it. I'm like, all the humans can die. Please don't kill the pig. Please don't kill the pig. And I'm delighted that that came true. Sorry, spoiler alert. The pig is okay, guys.
Yahtzee is one of Malum's biggest followers, one of the most loyal, if you will. Yeah.
The Humane Society thing was, I've worked with them before, and you don't have to when you're making a movie. You don't have to go through the process. But we had talked locally to people, and they were like, "It's going to be relatively painless." You know, because if you have, I mean, if I have animals on set, you're always getting in a wrangler. You're always having people. You're not ever putting the animal in danger. And even when I've worked with maggots before. It's the same thing. You have wranglers come in with flies and maggots and things like that. But with the Humane Society, it was an interesting process because we didn't have the same person the whole time.
Oh.
And Yahtzee was an interesting case because Yahtzee was a pet pig. So Yahtzee's owner at the Jackson farm, they were very protective of their pet, right? So they were clashing with the Humane Society quite a bit because they were like, listen, it's my animal. I'll kind of do what I think is right with it. But, you know, it's never, you just follow certain guidelines and they're kind of like on the fly. And strangely enough, the first person we had was terrified of that pig, would not get near it.
Really?
So everything that you know they were doing was kind of from a distance. It was just making sure we weren't putting the animal in danger and that we're taking precautions with the sets and getting it to set and things like that. But it's a pretty easy process when you're dealing with those groups.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure how much did the pig weigh by any chance?
It was like 650 pounds.
And I'm sure you had to consider that when looking at set or props or anything. Can this set handle a 600-pounded, you know, thing?
Yeah, it was always on solid ground. I think we shot most of its scenes on the ground floor, at least at the station, because it came to the station, so it drove down to downtown Louisville. In the pen, the owners brought it in a pen, and they drove down underneath into the basement level. It took the elevator up to the first floor. And then it also shot on that ground floor too. And then it went up to the first floor. The elevator was the trickiest thing.
To get it up and down.
Well, they were really nervous about it. And a lot of times pigs have a phobia of like steps and like stepping up and down things. They're very concerned about that. But this Yahtzee did not have, Yahtzee could care less. Yahtzee was like jumping up and down. I think it grew up with dogs and it grew up with other farm animals. It was treated like a pet, so it was like a pet. It was very easy to the pig was so easy to work with. It literally did things on like the first take.
Nice.
You're a star, kid.
Yeah.
If the pig could talk, y'all be out of luck.
I know.
Well, Yahtzee was getting on-set manicures, and the hair and makeup department were pampering Yahtzee. Honestly, I felt like it was unfair. I did have to call my agent at one point and have them talk to the hair and makeup department. And fortunately, they understood and they said, you know, here's some Xanax and just take a chill. We'll be right with you, Mr. Spencer.
The pig, everyone was most excited about the pig. I think the pig kind of stole the show when he was around.
Yeah.
Well, Yahtzee plays fetch. You know, Yahtzee plays fetch. So if you throw food towards Yahtzee, Yahtzee will catch it, but Yahtzee never brings it back.
Yeah, Yahtzee ate nonstop. I mean, that's the motivation for Yahtzee was just
absolutely
eat.
I know that's my motivation.
Before we wind down, I wanted to show you this great picture from Texas Frightmare Weekend. Can you see that?
Oh yeah. Yes.
So one of the fans who came to the panel gave me a Polaroid, and I was like, "Wow, that's very cool." He had a Polaroid printer, even though
cool.
He had a digital camera, but he had a Polaroid printer, and so you know, he had sent those over, and then he was nice enough to. I mean, technically, no one was supposed to be videotaping the panel, but, you know, Anthony was like, gosh, I hope somebody videotaped the panel. I said, well, let me ask. Let me ask and see who might have done that. I knew this guy. He was pointing a camera at me the whole time, and I know who that is. So, the next day when he came around to the booth, you know, I got his info. I got his name, and he followed me on social media. And then we asked him, and he was very nice to share the video of the panel. And so you probably saw on Instagram, Sam and I were doing rock, paper, scissors. I don't know if you caught that.
Mm-hmm.
They were there. They were at the panel.
Nice.
Were you at
Right.
the? That's right.
we
You
were.
Yeah, we
at
were.
the panel.
Yeah.
They saw the showdown.
Yeah.
They saw the
Yeah,
race.
yeah.
Oh,
The showdown. Yeah, and we got it on Instagram.
Nice.
So.
And I actually have a question about the special effects, and as well pigs. The first little piggy head that they throw at the car. What is that made of? I mean, it looks like a big gummy bear. Like I don't know why. Am I crazy? I want to eat it. I think it's a big gummy bear.
They use silicone to make the heads out of it, and we debated using a real head because you can get them at the butcher shop. So we debated using a real one, but we had them make it. So
it looked very real. That was a great question because that was one of them saying.
Silicone is the best thing to use for like skin and things like that. It tends to look really natural
for gummy hairs, for gummy heads.
Yeah.
And it was like all squishy.
It was very squishy. It's very squishy.
And like she just grabs it. Like, wouldn't you have gloves? Like,
who's got gloves lying around?
No, she's hardcore. Jessica is hardcore.
Yeah.
Love it.
So I'm curious. I have a strong desire for more. Will we be seeing Malum 2? And maybe will you guys come back for Malum 2?
I mean, listen.
Yes.
If we make a Malum 2, they'll definitely come back. Now,
I mean, we met the low god. Is there maybe a high god?
There might be.
He's all like, so dude.
He's like, so we just keep getting people to see the movie. It's going to be coming out on Blu-ray this fall, so 4K Blu-ray. So move that merchandise, and we'll get working on the sequel.
Yeah, and I actually saw that Malum made 200,000. Sorry, long day. 200,000 USD domestic box office. So congratulations, that's a huge success. And
a good start.
Yeah, that's a good nice headway. I did want to thank you, Anthony, personally. It's been a long time since I've seen a horror movie that scared the crap out of me. And the whole time, I kid you not, it's Texas, it's really hot, but the whole time I was watching it, I had a sweater that I did not need. I had it wrapped around me, like kind of like a security blanket, because it was just like pounding.
She was clenching my leg. She was like, ow!
Yes, and I was just with this sweater wrapped around, and I'm like, man, this is so good. I haven't felt this. And I've seen recent horror movies like, sorry, Insidious, don't come at me. This is just my personal opinion. I recently saw it, and I'm like, all it is just boo, boo, boo. Like, ew, nobody wants to see just jump scares. Like, they're not good. It's not good. Just a jump scare with no story, it's not good. But your movie was definitely more than that. It was it just grabbed you by the balls and did not let you go until it was over. And even after it was over, you were still like, what the fuck just happened? Give me like 10 minutes to catch up. My heart rate is like, ooh, through the roof. So I definitely appreciated that good scare, and I want to definitely thank you for that. That was phenomenal.
Listen, I appreciate you guys. We make horror movies for the fans and to scare people who enjoy that. So thank you so much for checking it out and also continuing to spread the word on Malum.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I know Anthony is very generous and wants everybody to share in the credit. And I also I think that it's so important that everyone who watched the film know all the folks behind the scenes who are doing all the important work for us. And of course, Scott Boyley, who co-wrote Malum, Jessica, who led the cast, and all our wonderful array of actors, our producers who really do all the hard work to make sure things are happening in the background and the things are running seamlessly so we don't have to worry about it. Samuel, who did our scoring, and Sean, who was the cinematographer and our casting director, and our production designer, art directors, our PAs, the people who bring us food every day, the makeup and hair department. And there's so many folks that really just make Malum possible. The stunts folks who make all the stunts look real and realistic. all the camera people, all the all those folks. So thanks to all of you out there who did all those things.
And I wanted to say I love there was some beautiful drone camera footage as well. I really love the ambience going through the city. It was really nice. And seeing it a second time, I found out so much more, and I loved it. So don't, you can rent it. Yeah, go ahead, rent it. But you just best just buying it. Just buy it. You're going to want to watch it again and again, and every time you see something different. And believe me, there's little hidden gems. You'll think you saw everything, and then, ooh, what's that shadow back there? Where the hell did that come from? And then you're like, oh, wait. So definitely, guys, thank you so much for being with us, and everyone should check this out. Malum.
If you're a fan of the physical media, so tomorrow we're announcing the 4K Blu-ray and DVD and
Nice.
So there's gonna be a lot of cool special features on that you can see.
Oh, awesome. The surround sound was phenomenal, especially I call her Snap Crackle Pop.
Oh yeah.
Are there going to be outtakes on the Blu-ray?
Yes.
There's some outtakes on there. Yep, there's some outtakes on there. Got some. Cool
I hope our interview is on there. That'd be exciting.
It might be. It might be.
Oh, the EPK.
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 Well, thanks for having us on, guys.
You're so welcome.
So much. Thank you.
This was lovely.
All right, guys. Well, this has been Delight in Fright. I want to thank everybody who joined us live. We had some awesome live viewers. And see you guys next week where we will have more fun and adventures. Thank you.